Hay un proverbio que popularizó Chino Achebe que dice que mientras los leones no tengan sus propios historiadores, las historias de caza continuarán glorificando a los cazadores. Bueno, pues a pesar de que el reto fundamental es llenar Internet de contenidos eminentemente africanos, creo que no es una locura decir que las TICs, por primera vez, están empezando a dar una voz preponderante a esos leones para contar su propia historia, ¿no? En los últimos años hemos ido viendo como en muchos de los procesos de participación social, en muchos de los procesos democratizadores que se han ido dando en África, los blogueros han ido teniendo un papel protagonista, ¿no? Lo hemos visto desde Kenia en 2007, después en Costa de Marfil, en Senegal, más recientemente en Uganda, un poco por todo en África. No es de extrañar, teniendo en cuenta que en estos procesos de participación, de democratización, la información precisamente es la materia prima perfecta, ¿no? Y lo que está ocurriendo es que estos nuevos medios, por llamarlos de alguna manera, estos medios sociales, las redes sociales, la web 2.0, ha cambiado algunas de las condiciones del flujo de información. Sobre todo ha cambiado las condiciones de acceso a la información y de emisión de la información. Hay nuevos actores que pueden emitir mensajes y que son mensajes bastante distintos a los de los medios convencionales, ¿no? Ocurre además que llega esta explosión digital precisamente en un momento en el que, como hemos ido viendo en las mesas anteriores, quizás en algunos países africanos los medios convencionales no están teniendo la capacidad de responder a todas las exigencias, a todas las necesidades, a todas las expectativas de los ciudadanos, ¿no? En unos casos por una cuestión de control de los medios por parte de las autoridades, en otros casos por una cuestión de censura, ya sea por precariedad de los propios profesionales o bien simplemente porque los medios convencionales no están siendo capaces de adaptarse a una nueva situación y a unos nuevos formatos, ¿no? Por otro lado, los medios sociales, los blogueros de los que os comentaba antes, esas redes sociales, la actividad en esas redes sociales, por primera vez está consiguiendo atraer la atención de los medios internacionales como nunca antes habían conseguido los medios convencionales. Vemos constantemente en los medios internacionales de referencia cómo se fijan en lo que está pasando en las redes sociales, en los movimientos de los activistas a través de las redes sociales en África, como hasta ahora nunca habían hecho, ¿no? En este sentido, a mí no me cabe duda de que estas TICs están dando esta voz para contar nuevas historias y sobre todo para contarlas desde un punto de vista bastante diferente, ¿no? Tenemos aquí estas 4 experiencias, que son, creo, 4 experiencias bastante diferentes, bastante diversas. No os voy a leer la bio convencional que está en la web del blog de África Vive, en la web de Casa África, y simplemente, para no extendernos mucho más y que precisamente ellos nos cuenten, yo quería dar un par de datos un poco específicos de cada uno de ellos, porque todos los 4 son periodistas, al menos 3 de ellos son blogueros. Anim, no sé si lo ha sido también en algún momento, bloguera. Creo que no. No. Bueno, al menos 3 de ellos son blogueros, los 4 periodistas. Los 4 tienen amplia experiencia en medios convencionales y después también en medios sociales. Pero empezando por Rosebell, en su trayectoria hay un detalle que seguramente dentro de esa trayectoria es simplemente prácticamente una anécdota, pero resulta que en 2012 trascendió, en un momento en el que se estaba negociando el rescate bancario del sistema financiero español, trascendió un SMS que Mariano Rajoy mandaba al ministro de Guindos y le decía: aguanta, España no es Uganda. Rosebell fue una de las personas no la única, pero sí una de las personas que se destacó en una campaña en la que simplemente decían Uganda no es España. Simplemente mostrando cómo esos medios sociales dan la capacidad incluso para intervenir en las agendas mediáticas de los medios del norte. Es decir, muchos medios españoles se hicieron eco de esa campaña. Más allá de la anécdota, después Rosebell tiene una amplia trayectoria de activismo y, por ejemplo, en las últimas elecciones, también dentro de la campaña de Uganda Decides, fue una de las personas que estuvo dinamizando y que estuvo dándole un poco de aire a esa voluntad de controlar las elecciones y de intentar que fuesen lo más transparentes posibles. Daouda es muchas cosas, entre ellas un bloguero marfileño, periodista también, pero yo quería destacar sobre todo la dimensión, por su carácter diferencial, la dimensión de videobloguero. Bueno, ha conseguido llevar adelante un formato bastante poco convencional y ha conseguido un impacto considerable en Costa de Marfil, que ha trascendido incluso las fronteras de Costa de Marfil, ¿no? Aisha es una de las madrinas y una de las almas mater de Africtivistas, que es la primera liga de ciberactivistas africanos, una especie de organización, aunque el término organización no creo que se adapte mucho, que trata de confederar ciberactivistas de todo el continente para intentar aumentar la voz, el protagonismo de los ciudadanos, ¿no? Y Anim es la editora de África Check, que es una plataforma de fact-checking que, entre otras cosas, uno de los elementos más interesantes es que no solo enmienda la plana cuando hace falta a los medios africanos, sino también a los medios del norte global, ¿no? Y precisamente no hace demasiadas semanas, hablando, Anim me decía que las decisiones se basan en las informaciones que tenemos. Si estas informaciones son erróneas, casi seguramente las decisiones que tomemos serán erróneas. Y ese es el sentido de esta labor de fact-checking, de la que seguramente nos podrá comentar algunas cosas, ¿no? Con esta presentación muy rápida y recomendándoos que vayáis a esos perfiles que hay en el blog de Casa África para saber un poco más de ellos, yo quería abrir un poco el fuego precisamente con Anim, por empezar en el sentido contrario. Y te quería preguntar si tú crees que esta explosión de los medios sociales, este nuevo escenario digital, de alguna manera ha pillado un poco a contrapié a los medios convencionales y quizás no están siendo capaces de sacarle todo el partido con herramientas como las que vosotros en África Check utilizáis, por ejemplo, ¿no?
Buenos días a todos y muchas gracias a Casa África para la oportunidad de compartir con ustedes más de África Check. I think there's such a diversity in Africa, and I think I've just joined the event about half an hour ago, so I hope it has been stressed that Africa is not a country and that the situations in each and every country differs. And I think with the digital explosion and all the social media, we see citizens taking a much more active part in telling their stories and correcting misinformation and talking about their experiences, like Rosebell about the comment about Uganda and Spain. So in a sense, in South Africa, where we operate, we work with the mainstream media because that is a big part of our reach. We use those channels to reach more people. So we do fact-checking of things politicians or anybody with influence say, and then we distribute it to traditional media. We also appear on a radio show, and then we use all available channels to get our information out there. Because the reality is also that, and there's now a big campaign in South Africa that our data is very expensive. So although we could potentially reach everybody with our website, lots of people are constrained by that. Does that answer your question?
Pero ¿crees que quizás esas herramientas que vosotros utilizáis, y a las que le sacáis mucho más partida, herramientas que se relacionan con esta explosión digital, los medios convencionales quizás son más reacios a utilizarlas, ¿no? Están más oxidados?
No, I do think that they are using it, and there's a lot of experimentation, especially in South Africa. I do think that mainstream media are using digital tools. They're experimenting in South Africa, where revenue is falling. People have to get online. But what makes us, what is the luxury for us, is that we don't have a printing press waiting for the paper to go out. So I can hold a fact check until it's 100% ready to be published, and then we can quickly see how the traffic is flowing, and then maybe add on information. So it's just there's such a lot more movement possible when you're in the online space to adapt to questions and feedback and the needs of your audience.
En relación a la adaptabilidad, precisamente por una cuestión de formato exclusivamente, pero me gustaría que todos dieseis vuestra opinión, todas. Daouda, respecto al formato que tú de alguna manera has empezado a explotar, ¿no? Ese videoblog con un punto de sátira importante, de ironía, con una crítica bestial, ¿crees que los medios convencionales, crees que un formato de ese tipo tendría espacio en los medios convencionales?
Merci déjà à Casa Africa pour cette opportunité. Je trouve que ce nouveau format a sa place. Déjà, il faut que je revienne sur votre première question. Le boom des médias sociaux, ça fait peur aux journaux dits traditionnels. Un, parce qu'ils ne connaissent pas. Deux, parce qu'ils ne vendent plus de journaux. Et trois, il y a certains qui voient Internet comme un ennemi. Or, en réalité, ça devait être une complémentarité. Certains ont l'impression que la prolifération d'Internet va plus ou moins tuer les journaux. Moi, je dis non, c'est même pas possible. Ça ne peut pas tuer les journaux. Ça va juste mettre en exergue, ça va juste mettre en évidence les bons journalistes. C'est les mauvais journalistes qui vont mourir. Et l'implémentation du nouveau format dans, comment on appelle ça, dans les médias traditionnels, c'est possible, mais déjà, il faut qu'ils acceptent de faire une transition, de faire une migration. Je vais sur un exemple simple. Je ne vais pas parler de tous les pays, je parle de la Côte d'Ivoire. La Côte d'Ivoire, c'est 24 millions d'habitants. 24 millions. 70% de jeunes. Il y a 63% d'analphabètes qui ne lisent pas, qui ne savent même pas lire. Pour leur parler, pourquoi est-ce que c'est la radio qui marche le plus en Afrique? Parce qu'ils préfèrent écouter. Et aujourd'hui, les gens n'aiment pas lire. C'est pour cette raison que le format vidéo, ça marche très bien en Afrique. S'ils se l'approprient, s'ils en font leur chose, je suis sûr et certain qu'eux aussi, ils peuvent s'en sortir.
Has apuntado una cuestión sin explicitarla, pero que la has apuntado, que es el debate que hay entre blogueros y periodistas ciudadanos y periodistas convencionales, este espacio un poco resbaladizo. Rosebell, no sé, tú como bloguera y también con la experiencia que tienes en medios convencionales y en comunicación, no sé cómo ves este encaje, si es posible, si hay realmente concurrencia, si no la hay, si hay complementariedad. No sé cómo ves este debate.
I think that's a very good question, and it's an ongoing debate that's been going on for years. From a personal perspective, I would quote a Nigerian great writer and a television producer who lived way before us, and he said that a writer cannot be a mere storyteller. You cannot be a mere teacher. You cannot be merely being an X-ray of society's weaknesses or its ills. You must be actively involved in shaping its future and its present. So as a journalist earlier on, I learned that I needed to be part of shaping my society, not merely, being an X-ray saying he said or she said. And I started a blog quite early, even when I was still working with different Ugandan media. So for me, the difference was there, that I needed to feel my voice, to say what I want to say, not merely reflect who I'm covering that day they're saying. I need to be able to speak what I saw and how I interpret it in the larger context of things. And most times we saw that media in my country, from the first page to maybe page 5 will be about who said what, and mostly politicians. And people with social media, that changes. People are looking for who is saying something that adds extra information, who explains the world to them more than just saying this happened here and this is what people said. So I think that the hunger for more analysis, more information that speaks to the people is there, and that's why bloggers are prevailing, because the traditional media was not doing that. Yes, they have a few talk shows, but even then we were not seeing enough content, enough context. And with bloggers, people are able to know where you stand, which of course for journalists most often is difficult. But if you come from a society where a lot of things are going on and people want that explained to them, they want to know where do you stand in all, what you genuinely think about. And in the traditional sense, a journalist would not give that. So I think they're all needed, but as we see new media coming up, we need to understand that we have to shape media differently. It's no longer about just only giving you what the balanced account of events, what happened, but more getting into understanding what people want from them, from that.
Entonces tú apuestas porque hay una complementariedad, apuestas porque hay una complementariedad entre periodistas ciudadanos, medios sociales, blogueros, etcétera, y periodismo convencional.
Yes, for sure, because many times I do work for newspapers. When I'm writing an article for a newspaper, I actually do it in the newspaper traditional way. But when I'm writing on my blog, I'm writing what I think, and I do not care what you think about it. It's my voice, and there's a distinction, and you can be many things. The fact that you can be many things, also the media can cater for different audiences, not stick to the most traditional form of saying, this is what happened, and this person has a say on it, but more, you can have more different, I think, segments that caters for people's need to understand beyond she said, or this happened here. So I don't see that as a competition. And of course, slowly media in Uganda and in African countries are transforming towards, to understand that it's the digital world and this is what audiences are seeking. And we are seeing a few changes. It's been very slow, but we are seeing some changes definitely that they provide. Because right now you are competing with the ordinary citizens live tweeting events and giving their own commentary in real time. So we are seeing also media moving to beyond just the normal reporting, but also going to the arena of social media and in digital commentary. So that is changing.
Yo sé que en Senegal también, en la comunidad senegalesa de blogueros, etcétera, también está muy presente este debate. ¿Compartes la opinión de Rosebell?
Maybe I am a journalist, trained journalist, and I became a blogger in the process. So I don't see a contradiction or conflict. Maybe because I've experienced both and I embraced blogging, that's why I don't see it as, I don't think there's any conflict. But there's some people, be it bloggers or journalists, who are adamant and think that the other is better than journalists are better than bloggers, bloggers are better than journalists. Everyone is trying to accuse the other of not doing his or her job right. For me, that's not the case. I think the media has changed. When I started writing for a newspaper in the Gambia, I just came out of high school. And I was being paid, it was, I think €2 for stories, if my story was published. And then what I realized was I just had to report things, make sure that my voice is there in the story, no one hears me. If I wanted to express something, I will have to write an opinion or I will write a satire piece, and it will get published. I did my master's on journalism and literature. And that was one of the Gambian writers I studied did the same thing. He was the editor of a newspaper. He will write the stories, write his editorial, be as professional and objective as possible. And when he wanted to express his opinion on issues, he will use other styles of writing. Then blogging, was not as developed as it is now. If you go and report a story, blogging, as a journalist, blogging allows you to tell your own perspective on issues, what you think about what happened. Ask the questions, maybe that those people, or you ask as a journalist, but you think there is more to the story than that. You are freer to express yourself. You have a voice. You find your voice in blogging when it's very difficult to find you. If you want to do objective journalism, it's very difficult to read your voice in a story. Anyway, that's a personal opinion. So blogging, for me, actually gave me my voice, and I didn't need to use or write satire anymore. I will just express what I feel about an issue or a situation, and people will agree or disagree with you. And that's how it is. The only thing is, I'll give an example in the Gambia. The newspapers that are in the Gambia, most of them, what they do is, once they publish their stories, after they'll just copy the whole paper and put it online. There's no interactivity, there's nothing. It's just that they have a presence online. And you have another face of the coin in the Gambia, that's the media in the diaspora. So these people, most of them are very against the regime. They're trying to give a counter narrative of the propaganda media in the country. And mostly there's a mixture of, information. As journalists, you have comments in the story, you have opinions, you have everything in it. When it comes to Senegal, there's some, almost all newspapers have online editions and they publish their stories. But more and more what I've noticed is some of them are trying to be more creative by having videos online, or by having someone who is dedicated to just interact, even if it's not at a high level, but at a basic level with the people that are commenting on the story, or making sure that the website is up to date. And you have others who are more like gossip papers, who take news from everywhere, sometimes not even citing the sources, and just publish. You have curators, websites that curate the news from everything that has to do with Senegal, like Seneweb, and they publish, and you have the source. You have websites that are specifically dedicated online. All their content is their own, and they just write online. So you have all different aspects of media, and I think it's this transition. And I think in this day and age, if a newspaper wants to widen its perspective, they have to embrace the digital era.
Una de las críticas que se hace a lo que se hace en los medios sociales habitualmente, que hacen los medios convencionales, quiero decir, es la cuestión del rigor. Parece que en los medios sociales no hay rigor, y que los medios convencionales son los absolutos estandartes y depositarios del rigor. Vosotros tenéis un poco de experiencia en eso. ¿Cómo percibes la situación del rigor en los medios convencionales y en los medios sociales?
Well, I think people are equal opportunity offenders when it comes to a lack of rigor online or in the traditional media, or foreign journalists reporting on African matters. So in our fact-checking, we get to do with all types. So if something is very popular, trending on social media, and we feel it's an important topic to fact-check, we'll look into that, we'll publish it. We watch all the newspapers and a lot of the traditional media, and we pick up errors there, and we publish something about that. So I don't think you can link the medium to rigor. It depends on the dedication of the person creating the piece.
Hay que desmontar entonces ese mito también.
I'm speaking from the South African perspective, where the traditional press, as Virashni has mentioned, that they are under funding pressures, and journalists don't have time to fact check as well as they would like to. They have to do multiple stories every day. So if there wasn't a lack of rigor, Africa Check wouldn't exist. So we step in to help to uplift the standard. So we have two goals. The one is to keep politicians to account for what they say, or public figures. And then the other is also to help other journalists, be it a traditional journalist or a journalist working for a traditional media organization, or a blogger, or anybody that works in this space, to lift their game. We publish fact sheets, and guides on topics. So it's very much it's part of our mission to uplift the rigor wherever the journalism takes place.
¿Qué creéis que pueden aportar todas estas herramientas de los medios sociales al periodismo? Entendido no solo como el periodismo convencional, sino con una amplitud de miras un poco mayor, ¿no? a lo que pueda ser el periodismo mañana.
Déjà, il faut être clair, Internet, c'est le média du futur. Il ne faut même pas s'en leurrer. Je ne connais pas la société espagnole, je connais ma société. Chez nous, les jeunes sont nombreux. Tellement nombreux. Aujourd'hui, combien de jeunes lisent les journaux? Combien? Souvent, on lit certains articles, on entend il y a plus de portables en Afrique que de brosses à dents. C'est vrai, c'est ironique, mais ce n'est pas faux. Une seule personne peut avoir 2, 3 smartphones à lui seul. Tout est connecté. C'est les vieux qui ne font que lire les journaux. Et d'ailleurs, même les journaux ne se vendent plus. Le journal gouvernemental ivoirien ne tire même pas 20 000 exemplaires. Ajoutez à cela le fait qu'il y a des invendus. Je vous raconte juste une petite histoire qui s'est passée dans le même journal. Ils ont créé une rédaction en ligne. Arrivé à un certain moment, c'est la rédaction en ligne qui recevait des publicités, des grosses structures des opérateurs de téléphonie mobile. Mais quand ils ont commencé, les journalistes de la presse classique, ça c'est du n'importe quoi, c'est du n'importe quoi, c'est du n'importe quoi. Mais arrivé à un moment, c'est ces derniers-là que les gens courtisaient. Mais aujourd'hui, qu'est-ce qu'ils ont fait? Dans le même organe de presse, ils sont en train de tuer ce journal-là. Comme Aisha le disait tantôt, quand ils vont faire des reportages, c'est les articles de hier ou avant-hier qu'on déverse sur ce site-là. Comme si c'était un dépotoir. Non, ce n'est pas un dépotoir. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, le constat, c'est que nos confrères journalistes, c'est vrai, ce que je dis, c'est plus ou moins anti-confraternel, mais je vais le dire clairement. On est dans du compte-rendu. On est dans de l'institutionnel. Ça intéresse qui? Le problème n'est pas au niveau de la capacité ou bien de la compétence du journaliste, c'est le contenu. Il y a quoi dedans? Parce que le reportage, là, on est assis, je ne sais pas, il y a peut-être 250 places. Mais actuellement, est-ce que vous avez compté le nombre de tweets? Les faits ont été déjà racontés. C'est aux confrères journalistes d'aller au-delà du compte-rendu, de faire des analyses, de faire de très bons reportages, montrer l'angle sur tel sujet. Et c'est ça qui sera important. C'est ça qui va envoyer de la valeur ajoutée. comment on appelle ça, à leur travail. Sincèrement, j'ai été bluffé hier. Quand je suis arrivé à El País, j'ai fait waouh. Je vois un média comme El País, l'un des journaux les plus lus d'Espagne, qui fait une migration à 90%, pendant que chez nous, on se bat encore. En tout cas, me concernant, ça c'est un conseil que je donne aux gens qui sont dans la salle. Si vous avez les moyens, venez en Côte d'Ivoire. Le terrain est vierge. Le terrain est vraiment vierge. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, les Français ont infecté le terrain. Les Américains ont infecté le terrain. Les Turcs sont en train de l'infecter. Vous attendez quoi? Sincèrement, vous attendez quoi? Le terrain est tellement vaste et vierge. Il suffit de venir faire de l'information juste équilibrée. Les gens vont le payer. Ne serait-ce que 50 000, vous avez 50 000 abonnés. Les gens sont très SMS. En Côte d'Ivoire, c'est partout. Mais 50 000 abonnés qui payent votre information à 500 francs le mois. Chaque mois, vous avez 25 millions. Le franc CFA, bon, en euros, je ne sais pas ce que ça fait. Mais 25 millions par mois, sans frais d'impression. Vous ne payez que des charges fixes. Franchement, essayez l'aventure.
It's very important to look at digital media and what has so far been achieved. I think in our countries, while Eric highlighted the fact that our media still finds picks stories from Reuters and AFP, actually ordinary Africans are busy communicating with each other online. Those who have access, of course, access to internet is still a big issue because of infrastructure. In Uganda, I think we have conflicting figures, but probably around 8-10 million people having access to the internet. And while our media are picking foreign stories from Reuters, we are following each other. I knew Aisha before I met her for many years now. It's my first time to meet her, but I always follow what she's reporting from different places. So already there's very many Pan-African online communities, while our media is still behind. So it has to learn that the population is already there. It's already communicating with each other. It's not waiting for Reuters to define what it is. When you go to on Ethiopia right now, I'm not waiting for AFP. I'm following Oromo protests. I know so many Ethiopians who are tweeting from outside the country, some from the country, and they are giving the story as it is. So it's a challenge. The fact that people are already reporting their own story, how are you going to be relevant in this time if you're picking stories from out with no context whatsoever to the regional issues? So if someone is writing for FP a story about Ethiopia, they have a different agenda on what they are looking at, the aspects of the protest, but if you're Ugandan, there's something else you want to learn from there. For example, Ethiopia has recently it shut down internet because of the protests. It's a similar situation in Uganda. In the first half of the year, we had 2 internet shutdowns, and they had to do with the presidential election. On the election day in February, we did not have the internet, and the government said it was because of national emergency security issues. No one has ever found out what that means. So our governments, of course, they have similar challenges, and they are using similar means to suppress the people, but also the people are using similar techniques, learning from each other. So if our media is still really behind, then it has to learn that people are already, when we say that digital is the future, it's now. People are already talking to each other and knowing the stories. So we have to know what are the different models, media models that will work for the continent right now, not in future, because people are already producing this news. Also, when we talk about the media and adapting to the internet times, we are looking at marginalized communities. Every society has its own marginalized communities. And in a lot of Europe, you see a lot of news about migrants and refugees. No migrant or refugees talked to. They are talking about them without them. So we have also similar situations in Africa, that there are certain communities where they're in the news, they're discussed, but their voices are not there. And in Uganda in particular, gay rights issues are very explosive, and the government and politicians and religious leaders use them, just like refugees are used in Europe right now, use them for all sorts of, to distract the population from the real issues, and they are pawn, a very good pawn, because when you ask Ugandans, probably they would not agree with their president on most issues. Maybe the only issue of recent that I would see positive, feedback from about the president is about gay rights, So it has to tell you that for politicians, that's something, it tells them that is where, if I want to gain attention, this is where we need to be. But what does it mean for the media? Do the media in our countries understand gay rights, or even try to understand it? Often I realize that, we have stories about gay rights, a minister talking about how they're going to shut down gay pride, but we don't see voices from the community being discussed about. And of course, the internet has brought out these voices that that our media was really ignoring for long. So we have online media like Kuchu Times, where it covers LGBT communities in Africa, and we have many commentators on LGBT issues from Uganda, whom I follow online. So from them, I understand what is going on in the community, which the media will not give me. So it's very important because the communities are already there. And also women's rights issues. A lot of the times, the media is really male-controlled environment, And there's little, and even the women who are in there, they have little understanding of gender issues or women's rights issues. So we always see the same regurgitated norms and stereotypes, what a woman should be, and and how they cover whether women in the media or women in the politics is still the same issue. But when you go online, you see a lot of women's voices challenging this, and you see a different reality. It's like I live in different worlds. When I'm online, I'm seeing all these interesting Ugandan women doing a lot of stuff. But when I pick my newspaper, a lot of the times it does not reflect the reality I have online, which tells me that our media needs to change with the times too and reflect what is going on.
I think there are three things that digital will offer the journalists of tomorrow. And first of all, Africa Check wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the internet. So we do all our research based on public documents that we mostly find online. So I just see that developing and more data being put into publics and journalists' hands to tell better stories and to help inform people about what's going on. Secondly, and Rosebell has touched on that, is that the ability to tailor and adapt your content to reach all those different communities, the minority communities, people that have been underserved. You can do a video blog, you can put a podcast online, you can WhatsApp people. So yeah, I hope to see that develop, and especially in Africa, to enable people to fully participate in the communities. And then lastly, I think also, like any technology, new technology, it's what you make of it. So with digital developing in this way, I think it's up to us as journalists. I forgot the last point. I'll mention it now.
What I want to say is, I think media that started as newspapers have a challenge most of the time because they don't know what business model to adapt with the fact that we have internet now. They've seen their readership reduce. They're having difficulties to maintain even printing those papers because paper is expensive, you have to have a printing press and all those things. Having the right business model is a challenge even for those who are online only, because you have to sustain. I think when you are coming, if the papers want to go into the, be more active in the digital area, what they have to develop more is interactivity, and know that it's no longer a one-way discussion, it's a two-way discussion. They have to give the information and be accurate, be fast, but also hear the comments and be able to use, you have to be creative. Why not, if it's a story, for example, let's say, Rosebell was mentioning election blackout in Gabon. We've had that, I think, almost 10 times since January 2010, 10 times in Africa. A country has either blocked social media or VoIPs or just a complete internet blackout or communication blackout. So you have to be creative. If I write a story on Gabon, okay, my, let's say, audience is from DRC. Well, they want to know what's happening in Gabon. Yeah, I have their reactions. Why not make a story out of that reaction that you have, all the comments that you have from all these people? You know, it's a way of recreating. You have to be very creative. Yes, it's good to, you know, for the story to be concise and short because of the people's attention span, but also you have the possibility of using links that can refer to other stories or give more information to someone who is more interested in something else. It's true that in Africa we still have an issue, even though internet is developed, we still have illiteracy as an issue. We still have infrastructure. People don't have access to internet as the issue. We have the environment, because there's some countries where it's just difficult to be a journalist. You know, you have just saying that, what's your profession? I am a journalist, you're already being looked at as if you were a criminal. And mostly it's because either of the government or repressive laws, or people are just, or you use someone as a source and you distorted the information by giving it out. So you have all these issues that are happening. But I think there could be collaboration. Why not for a newspaper, for example, in Africa, will collaborate with a community radio where they'll be reading their stories in local languages to the community? That's a way of being creative. You won't say that we are printing, we'll continue to print, and this is a threat. No, be creative. You have the possibility of using videos online, like Daouda is doing. You have the possibility of using all the resources on the internet. You have the possibility to hear from the people that are reading you. You have the possibility to use the radio to translate in as many different languages as possible. And have an interaction, a radio show. People call and interact, react to your story. Why didn't you ask this question? Why didn't you look at this way? So I think people have to be more open-minded about this. Many media are in semi-transition or in transition period, but I know that one of the main challenges is the best business model to be able to make money out of it.
The last point I wanted to make is just this, how borders are dissolving, and as more people become literate and get smartphones, and the youth are brought online, and the way we are interacting now and talking to each other, you know, people from various African countries, I see will be, the more that develop, the happier that will make me.
I thought I should say something about how foreign media has also, you know, changed with the internet, because a lot we are speaking about our own home experiences, but since I think we're here, we need to look at how so much has changed. I think that with the technology and internet, you're most likely to find, if you go on Twitter and you look for Ugandan voices, you will easily actually find people you can speak to. So we see with the more people online, it has made sourcing for news also has helped. So it's not only a competition, it has helped journalists in sourcing for news. And a lot of the times I've got, of course, emails or a tweet from someone from Spain asking me to help them with a story, and I point them to the right direction. and that would have been much harder before because you wouldn't know what voice to trust. You'd have to be probably on the ground. But also it means that it diversifies voices. You don't have to only talk to me, and most times when a journalist calls me, I'm like, I don't think I'm the right person to tell you about this. You should try this person. It diversifies voices and gives you a chance to know how many people are all out there and have so much knowledge. And I think it's slowly becoming history to have to see a story about Africa with no African voices or even experts. Before it was you go and talk to the people, usually a very sad story, and there's no academia. You know, the reality is changing. There's no academia. This is not something in the middle, especially many Africans in the middle who are working to change the issues in their, who are addressing the issues in their own communities. It was always, just a subject, and then somebody, I don't know, from New York or from somewhere, any seat, to commentate about that issue. But now we are seeing a lot of, people challenging those narratives. And if you follow a lot of news on Africa, of course we have also seen humor and learning about different cultures using online spaces, apart from, our media still not giving us the news from that side. And some of the most trending Twitter hashtags have been "If Africa was a bar" and "If Africa was a school." And basically Africans are sharing similar experiences, but also showing different, in a humorous way, and showing how different their countries are. And it breaks down that idea that that people are the same. They are the same, but at the same time different. If you follow those hashtags, you can see how people perceive things. But also, I think that in terms of foreign journalism, we saw one of the big stories, I think this year, was, the biggest hashtags on the continent was Linton Lies, about this woman from Scotland who spent, I don't know, a few months in Zambia a few years ago, now was writing a story about how she was saving an orphan. And the Daily Mail in the UK got a big backlash, and they had to apologize, and this woman has a book. And a lot of Africans went on Amazon and actually put the worst rating for the book, and Amazon had also to respond. So we are seeing really the growing of citizens, the right to be heard. Many Africans didn't have it before the internet. You could write about them and get away with it, say whatever you want. But right now, whether you write in Spanish or whatever language, at the end of the day, we get the story and people share it, and they point out that what you're saying is either great or it's not. So I think that challenges journalists to know more and push their boundaries.
J'aimerais simplement dire que le monde change, le monde évolue. Ce n'est pas au monde de s'adapter à nous, c'est à nous de nous adapter au monde. Et le numérique a pris le dessus. Donc c'est à nous de pouvoir aller de l'avant. Je vais finir par juste cette histoire. Il y a eu la crise en Côte d'Ivoire en 2010. La presse ivoirienne est tellement bipolarisée. C'est bleu, les bleus c'est l'opposition, ou soit c'est vert, c'est le parti au pouvoir actuellement. Les jeunes ne pouvaient même pas s'exprimer, et pourtant il y a eu une guerre qui a duré 3 voire 4 mois. Il y a eu près de 3000 morts. Mais chacun restait dans son camp et se prêchait selon la Bible ou le Coran de sa chapelle. Dieu merci, il y a eu un média pour lequel j'ai travaillé, parce que j'ai aidé le bébé, qui s'appelle Ivoire Justice. Ils sont venus, ils ont expliqué la crise, ils ont donné la parole aux deux camps. Chacun a expliqué son histoire. Et comme elle disait, les jeunes venaient sur la page Facebook pour... Le mur Facebook d'Ivoire Justice était devenu comme un mur de lamentation. Chacun parlait, chacun parlait, chacun parlait. Au final, on a pu organiser de nombreux événements. Les ennemis d'hier sont aujourd'hui les amis. Ils marchent ensemble, ils mangent ensemble, ils jouent au foot ensemble. C'est pour dire que grâce... Je ne sais pas si vous essayez de voir un peu ce que le numérique a pu faire. Et aujourd'hui, c'est les médias ivoiriens qui répiquent, avec bien entendu l'accord de ce média, tous les articles qui sont écrits sur ce média, parce qu'ils sont dans l'incapacité, ou bien je ne sais pas pourquoi, mais plus ou moins, j'ai ma petite idée, la ligne éditoriale, ils sont adossés à des partis politiques. J'en appelle aux jeunes qui sont ici, qui sont journalistes, qui veulent faire du journalisme. Libérez-vous totalement de l'emprise, de l'embastillement de nos dirigeants et surtout de l'argent. L'argent, on peut le gagner après. Je vous en prie, je vous exhorte à prendre le numérique en main parce que le numérique vous donne de la liberté. Soyez jaloux de votre liberté comme je suis jaloux de ma liberté. C'est sur ça que je vais terminer.
I don't want to pass up this marketing opportunity. Please go to Twitter @AfricaCheck, and if you see something reported on Africa that you think should be fact-checked, please let us know. Send the link.
I want to thank Casa Africa for the invitation, and actually I've been following Rosebell for years. We've been following each other for years and we've never met. This is a great opportunity to meet her. Daouda, well, I know him. To talk about the digital era, there's a lot of things that we have been doing and we still can do. It is an opportunity, it's also dangerous, but we see it as a blessing by using it positively. And like for Africtivists, the League of Cyber Activists, we've been able to create a kind of a chain of solidarity in Africa. And this actually, there's nothing more beautiful than you sitting in your corner in the Gambia or let's say in Sierra Leone and having an issue, a social issue, something that you need to raise money to address, or you have a problem, or a journalist has a problem with the police and was arrested unjustly, and you see all this solidarity, all these Africans being concerned just because you are Africa. We often identify ourselves with our countries. I am from the Senegambian nation, which is two countries now. It's Senegal and Gambia, but that's where you see that it's only when we go, most of the time, it's only when we go to the West or the US that we identify ourselves as Africans, but there is an African solidarity, and the internet has been able to establish that, and we are doing a lot thanks to that. And also there is this supra-Africa or external to Africa, between the continents also there's a solidarity, and that's also thanks to the internet. So it's an opportunity, we should use it wisely and use it positively. Thank you.
Creo que lamentablemente hemos agotado el tiempo y creo que es bueno quedarse en un encuentro como este entre periodistas de España y África, perdón. Creo que es bueno quedarse con este ofrecimiento de poder contactarles, de poder recurrir a ellos precisamente para que también tengan voz entre nuestros medios, ¿no? y para conocer de primera mano su realidad a través precisamente de las herramientas del digital, ¿no? Creo que es la mejor forma de cerrar esta mesa. La segunda mejor, la primera mejor es un aplauso.